your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Tall. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
Is that the real title? Born to Defense with a C?
With an S.
But there's a version on Wikipedia. Wikipedia says Born to Defense with
And
a
then
C.
IMDb says Born to Defense with an S.
And then there's Born to Defend.
Yeah, I think they changed the title to try and fix the grammar. I mean, this movie, yeah, that spelling aside, I mean, it's got other names too. So, take your pick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're finishing Jet Li month with his first and only film to direct, which is kind of surprising because this is a very well-made movie for somebody who's only been in 4 films.
What? Wait, oh, that's true.
This is
oh my
only
god, I
his
didn't even think about that.
Film.
Wow.
After this, he would go into Dragon Fight with, I believe it's Stephen Chow, and then after that, he would go into Once Upon a Time in China.
Yeah.
Where he would really blow up. But I'm surprised he went right for directing, and I mean, considering this is his first film he directed, it's very well made, considering that he hasn't been in the industry for that long.
Yeah, wow, that didn't even equate to me because, it's no secret, I didn't like his first 3 outings. So, no, you're right. This is probably the first film in his whole entire catalog that I actually liked. So, I was gonna say it's been a while since I watched a movie that was so incredibly simple.
Right?
Because this story is extremely simple. And sure, I mean, yeah, it's not easy directing a film, but, Jet Li's directorial debut, coming into a film like this, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. It's like, it whets the palate, right? Like, it gives them enough exposure, but, like, the story is nothing overly convoluted. It is extremely simple.
It's to the point. I mean, I prefer that sometimes to these movies where they take so many twists and turns because it feels like they need to do something surprising because they realize maybe it's not going in a very entertaining direction.
Yeah. So
in this movie, it goes from point A to point B. You can pretty much see everything coming from a mile away, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of comforting in how just easy it is to take everything in.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the story, Zero?
So Jet Li is a soldier who comes back from fighting the Japanese during World War II. Yep. He lives with his lieutenant, and it's just about him
dealing with racist Americans.
Sure.
That's it.
Right. I wasn't sure how vague to get about it. But yeah, so there are some Americans who have occupied this town that he's living in mainland China, and Jet Li has an altercation with them at the bar, and it just stirs up all this sentiments against the Americans. They're mad at the Chinese, and because Jet Li can fight, you can kind of guess what's going to happen there. He's going to fight the Americans.
Oh, I thought they were going to play like cricket or something like that. Yeah, of course. This story is extremely simple. It's we've seen this kind of story played out a million times, like Ip Man and what was that other movie we just was it with Yin Bu? Shoot, I'm forgetting already. But it's the very typical the foreigners are the bad guy, and you're kind of and you're on one side of the fence. But it's weird because Jet Li would later go on to do movies where the foreigners are the bad guys, but they're nuanced.
Yes.
This movie, the foreigners are cartoonishly evil.
Yes, I was thinking about that because of how in other movies he doesn't, at least not, I mean, he didn't write those movies unless I don't know. But a lot of times the villains in the other movies he's been in, they're not just outright evil. They try to make it gray. They try to add nuance and motivations that we as the audience can understand. But here, I thought maybe they might go that route with a plot point that happens at the end. I won't spoil it. Mm-hmm. But you realize, oh, okay, yeah, they're just the evil Americans. Sure, why not? Let's go with it.
Yep. It's interesting because you and I are Americans, and we have our perception of history and how that was written for us. But I guess maybe in the perception of the Chinese, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Like, it seems like at least according to this movie, Americans took too much credit for the results of the end of the war with the Japanese. That's what it seems like when watching the film, because the Americans come into town, they occupy it, and to a certain extent, they have a military base there, and they are celebrating. At least this is how the movie starts. They are celebrating, and just basically tearing the town apart. Well, meanwhile, the Chinese themselves are like, "What the fuck are you celebrating for? Like, we did all the hard fucking work." So it's interesting how the movie kind of like frames that, which I do find kind of fascinating. And then obviously a lot of the bickering or a lot of the altercations that happen between both sides, it just comes from, I mean, like, yeah, there's hostilities, but I think it's just like really cartoonish writing, but it's fine. It's okay. Like, it surfaces the movie because, like, again, like, this is what the movie kind of stands for. It's just trying to pit the innocent Chinese who are like kind of victimized by the colonizers. Well, not even colonizers,
Yeah, they're just they just happen to have a military base in this town, and yeah, I mean, that's how Americans are portrayed. But I don't not deny that's how some Americans are. So yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the story aside, I mean, like, yeah, like, there's really not much to expound on. I mean, there's a story with a lieutenant that that got discharged because he got shot during service. But yeah, like, Jet Li reunites with him, and then that lieutenant has let's just call it a quarrel. Let's call it a quarrel that he has with another female character in the movie. And then that's really it. They're the only stories in the movie. Like mainly the story is just about Jet Li dealing with the Guilos. That's the whole film. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, watching the film, I will say that if you are kind of nitpicky, you can kind of find problems with the fact that the movie does kind of feel repetitive at times. But because of the fact that the movie is so simple. But I think the movie does a pretty good job of just kind of showing like the day in the life of a war veteran trying to acclimate to life again, and especially in like a hostile environment.
Yeah. What I found really fascinating is Jet Li's personality really shines through here, whether it be intentional or not, because he is just the definition of nice guy, right? He comes in, he's all smiles all the time. Mm-hmm. He cares about the underprivileged. He's thinking about these orphan children who are selling themselves on the street for work. He cares about women who are prostitutes. He's always thinking of people who are in these lonely positions. And I feel that in other movies I've been in, he's always trying to support the underdogs or the people who are less fortunate. So when I watched this movie, I was like, okay, because he's a director, I'm starting to get a better sense of his personality and maybe some of the maybe the things that he actually is really interested in.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that this really shined through, like what Jet Li was like. It's maybe especially when he was younger, because he's definitely a lot more aggressive. when he needs to be. I've noticed he has like a lot of ferocity in his movements. And I try not to just only talk about the physical performance, but yeah, like it really does shine through. Like I noticed that, especially in the stunt work that in the film, like Jet Li does quite a handful of stunts in the movie, and I'm very surprised by that because I don't think even to this day, like especially where there's more modern films or more recent films of his, like 80s onwards, or 80s into 90s, like he really didn't do too much of his own stunts. Like yes, he's a very talented martial artist, but stunt work he usually leaves for the stunt double. So he does a ton in this movie.
Yeah, while we've been watching his films this whole month, we've been commenting on the fact that, there's whenever in the movies we've been watching, Jet Li gets stunt doubled. It's no surprise. It's not something he ever denied or they tried to market, like what happened with Jackie. But it's kind of refreshing to see him get thrown into fucking boxes and then he lifts up his head and that's him.
It's him. Yeah.
It's crazy because he's so young and he's a director and he could do it.
Yep.
So like taking all these things into account, it's kind of fascinating that he was willing to do his own stunts. There is a few cases where I could see, okay, yeah, that looks a little more tricky, doing like a backflip off of the like the boxing ring where the stunt person's head was really close to the edge. Sure, that's perfectly fine. But when he and the final boss are just throwing each other through stuff in this industrial factory in the final fight, it's just damn, like it's cool. It's cool to see Jet Li do his own stunts because I don't recall him doing it too much in other movies we watched.
Right. Do you think that Jet Li wanted to do this because he was a director? Maybe I'm just curious because this is his only directorial outing. So I noticed that no other movie really features him prominently doing the stunt work. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if he had more control over a project, would he have done more stunt work back in the day? I mean, this is also, granted, what you said before, one of his earlier movies. So, he's still young. I'm sure as he got older, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I tried it once. I'm good.
Right. Yeah, hard to tell. Maybe, after, because, we keep on kind of setting Police Story as a benchmark because it's 83. But maybe because of...
85.
Oh, was it 85? Oh, okay. Well, then that came... I mean, this came after that. Maybe people saw that. They saw that Jackie... doing his own crazy stunts, so maybe Jet Li thought, well, I'm going to direct this film. I need to bring up my game and push what I can do because maybe people want to see me do my own stunts as well. That's
why I was thinking too. Wait, isn't High Risk 88 or 89? Like only a couple of years later, Jet Li was already doing that film. Like he really blew up.
High Risk is 95.
Oh, I'm completely wrong. Okay. No, that wouldn't make any sense because Die Hard is 89. The High Risk was a Die Hard ripoff. I'm completely off today. So in terms of the action, I'd say that some of it's the choreography is also on the simpler side, but not necessarily in a bad way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I would completely agree with that. When I was watching this, I got really worried the first time because I saw a Chinese man going up against a person of European descent in a boxing ring, and I was getting flashes of Ip Man 2, and I thought, oh no, don't do this to me again. Don't punch the biceps anymore. I can't take it. But again, just to repeat what you said, the choreography is a little more simple, but I do like how they addressed, I guess, Chinese Kung Fu versus American boxing. Yeah.
I think that's really important because there is one particular scene, so one of the earlier ones, I noticed that they bring it up, and they bring it up in a very clever way. We'll call it clever. Especially nowadays, we always talk down the efficacy of traditional martial arts versus modern martial arts. But you gotta remember, like, what context are you talking about? Because these, like, these fights are staged using boxing rules. So it's like, all right, well, you take the kung fu guy and you literally limit all his ability
Exactly.
except to punch. And it's like, of course, it's fucking unfair, but like, you just like, the people don't see it that way. They just think, oh, kung fu guy can't even deal with the boxer. It's like, well, yeah, because you're limiting all his abilities.
Exactly. Like a kung fu martial arts guy is not just going to use his arms. Like, he will be adept with his arms. And then also one of the things they don't consider is weight class. Holy crap! Jet Li fights a literal giant in this movie, considering he's a much shorter guy. But Jesus Christ, the final boss is like what? It's like, he's got to be like 6'5", easy. Maybe even taller than that. He is huge. And I don't know if I buy that Jet Li was able to beat that guy up. Because that guy was just... I mean, he wasn't skinny, but he wasn't like Nathan Jones huge. He was just, he was really tall, but he was very fit.
Yeah. We're talking about Kurt Roland Peterson. He clearly has some sort of background and some sort of training. I think he was a kickboxer. He has a kickboxing background, and you can actually see it in the choreography. He knows his shit, as far as you can tell. He doesn't look like he's just a big brute. He just tosses Jet Li around, which is kind of nice. Although, because he's so tall, the detriment to the film is that anytime he's doubled, it is so glaringly obvious. They don't even try. They don't try different camera angles, nothing.
Yeah, they got a Chinese stuntman and they put a beard on him. And
Yep.
I was fine with it because I was digging all the stunt work that was going to be required of his character to go through in the end. And because of that final fight gets so crazy, maybe you don't want to have that tall, lanky man go flying through industrial equipment.
Kurt Peterson, God rest his soul. Oh man, a little piece of trivia I found out about him. He was beaten to death in Spain.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Jesus
I know.
Christ.
Yeah, that's what the police reported when they found his body.
Oh my God.
Horrible.
Horrible.
What happened to him? But hey, this is one of the only 2 films that he's ever done ever. And it's a pretty good showing for him because he doesn't do a ton of stunts. He does much of the choreography himself because they keep it simple for him, but also you really can't double for him too much before the audience is like, all right, that's clearly not him. So like it's pretty impressive what he does, but like he does do like a couple stunts later in the film that I was like, oh shit, that's really him. That's awesome. So yeah, I definitely want to give him some posthumous shout outs. And then the last key player in the movie is also a villain character, played by I'm gonna butcher his name, Paulo Toca. Apparently he was Paco in Bloodsport, and he is, I think, an actual Muay Thai fighter. I can't really tell. I can't find out enough information about it. It seems like he might have picked up Muay Thai after the movie. But he is staged as like a mini boss / he's like staged as the main antagonist for the most part until we get to it's revealed that we have an actual big boss at the end.
Yeah. And
he is the most unlikable cartoony villain ever. He makes Twister from Ip Man 2 look pretty reasonable.
Yeah, he was pretty annoying. He's your typical chauvinistic, boastful
rapist.
Misogynistic American soldier here hanging out at the bar, where all the prostitutes and all the the random workers are hanging out. And yeah, it's kind of interesting because he and Jet Li, they what happens? Yeah, so he so his character's name is Bailey. He invites him into the ring to fight, and then that's kind of where the movie starts to head in that direction where they you start to see him recurring throughout the film, and he's constantly antagonizing Jet Li after their first little fight, and he becomes the recurring villain, and then it turns out that he's not, the main bad guy, even though he is kind of there for more of the movie anyway.
Yeah, no, the rest is really circumstantial. Like every other villain in the movie, I don't know. It seems like we really are just setting up like Jet Li versus the world, right? Like or versus America. Yeah, but it's fine. There's some that's not many twists and turns in the movie, but there is something that happens later in the film that kind of drives the character forward, and leads us to our final like showdown at the end. But up to that point, the movie is really simple, and I said repetitive earlier in the episode because it kind of does feel like that when you really think about it, because you were worried before that, oh no, the whole movie is going to take place in a boxing ring. And not the whole movie, but a sizable portion of the fights happen in that same boxing ring, so it does look and feel kind of samey after a while.
Well, I will say, yes, when I first watched it, I got a little worried too, because the first major fight happens in the boxing ring, and then we go back to the boxing ring again for a huge long fight that starts out in the boxing ring, but literally there is weather affecting the boxing ring. And then it turns into this gigantic bar brawl that just wouldn't end. Like, this whole fight takes forever. And the whole time I was like, oh my God, just keep going. I was like, just keep going. Let's go. Like, just destroy everything. They literally destroy this bar. Yep. I was so pleasantly surprised because it didn't end. In my mind, I was like, oh, just keep going. And it did. And I was like, wow, it's still going.
You're forgetting there's another fight in the ring before that, too. There's 3 fights in the ring.
Oh, that's when he...
We'll save it for the Patreon section. But yeah, there's 3 fights in the ring. It's just, a big chunk of the movie does feel kind of like cyclical. Mm-hmm. But it's fine because, like when you're watching the movie, it paces itself, and like there's a reason why he returns to the ring. And such. So it's not so bad.
All the circumstances feel right for the story for him to get back in the ring, and they are changing the motivations, and you understand it, you buy it. You don't feel like they ran out of money so they only had one set. You understand why he needs to go back, because he needs to see the villains again, or he needs to do this different thing again. And then you even kind of forget about it because the last action set piece takes place in an industrial plant. And we get so much different locations in there that the variety just made me so happy.
Yeah, you say that it's not because they ran out of budget. Like, I don't know if I believe that, because the opening scene, I'm wondering if they blew all their budget there. They blew all their budget there. That's my assumption. Like, holy shit, there are so many tanks here.
Yeah. So we didn't mention that the opening scene is a war. It's a war. It's a battle between the Chinese and the Japanese, and they have the real tanks. They have lots of extras, lots of explosions all over the place. And
that's where all the budget went to.
Probably. Yeah, and man, again, Jet Li's first and only directed film, and I think he does it pretty well here. And this is before Saving Private Ryan kind of popularized the handheld shaky cam to make war feel a little more realistic, like you're on the ground. So every war movie after that had that intense shaky cam hyper editing. Yeah. This is just static cameras for the most part. But I will say the illusion of war gets ruined because of one thing, and it's Jet Li's fault. He does this like spinning butterfly twist away from an explosion at one point.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, no, nobody does that during war.
Oh man, this is all good. This is all gold. We're definitely gonna save this for the rest of this or the Patreon section because I actually do want to break down that war scene a little bit more. Sure. Is there anything else you want to talk about in broad strokes before we talk about it in more details?
No, I think we can go into it. So, if you want to hear us elaborate more on the plots and all the action, we're gonna spoil stuff. You can follow us on Patreon and listen to the whole episode. Usually we go an extra hour. Our general reviews are usually 30 minutes for the free version. But if you want a whole bunch of 90 minutes of us talking, gotta subscribe.
Yep. Well, that's Born to Defense.
Hey, Born to Defense. We spoke a lot. We spoke a lot about this one. I mean, oh my God. That big middle brawl is so long. This last fight is actually pretty long too. So yeah, there was a lot to extrapolate. Story wise, very, very simple. Not really too much to devolve into. But there's emotional beats that happen at the end that I actually liked, and I feel dumb for not seeing some of that coming. But then I realized that this is a Hong Kong movie, so you can't have a happy ending when characters reunite. So take that as you will.
Yeah. Super simple story, super simple movie. Interesting outing from Jet Li, especially since he's the director. Did not expect it to come out the way that it did, and it's interesting because you get some showcasing of Jet Li in ways that you never thought he was capable of, especially not only in the directing department but in the stunt department. I didn't even know he was capable of a lot of the stuff that he does here. Like, martial artists can do flips and martial artists can do the actual choreography, but can he take a beating? Can he do a twisting pratfall and land on his face? And it's like, Jet Li clearly can. He didn't make a career out of it, but he clearly showed in in this movie that he was capable of doing it. So it's interesting because I don't think we're ever gonna see this again. This is the one and only time where Jet Li actually pulled that off.
Yeah,
it's actually cool.
I was a little upset finding out that this was his one and only film he directed because I thought this was great. I wasn't really expecting much. I think I mentioned to you, I watched. We covered it. I watched. I when we were looking for View movies, I found out he directed one film, and when I watched that, I was pretty upset because I couldn't really see any sort of style, and it just felt very generic. Like anybody could have directed that. But I was pleasantly surprised with this. There's some interesting choices going on. I can see Jet Li, the actor, the person, I can see his personality coming through in the character he's trying to portray. Yeah. And at least there's some visually interesting things happening here that I feel like if he went on to direct, I think he could have maybe had a decent career if he stuck with his eye for certain shot compositions and created pandemonium in bars and industrial warehouses. Yeah,
well, I don't know why he didn't continue doing directing. I think this was the second top grossing film of that year or so. I don't know.
Well, I think what happened.
I think that was in Korea, so maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think what happened is he got cast as Wong Fei-hung in Once Upon a Time in China, and then from there he's playing the characters. He doesn't have to direct. I would love to know more about this movie. I want to know if it's his passion project. Did he really want to direct as opposed to being a martial arts actor? Did he finally get a little bit of clout from those first 3 movies and then got a chance to do this? I wish there was more information on this.
Yeah, or maybe once he discovered that he can be a leading man in other movies and find wild success, he realized, I guess I don't have to do my own stunts.
Exactly.
I have all the star power, and I'm a great martial artist, and I still don't have to eat the floor every single time.
Right.
Yeah, but this is still better than Badges of Fury. by far.
So you recommend this?
I do. I do recommend it. I think it's easy to just watch a movie, fights and all. Because the movie's pretty easy to sit through. It's not long at all. Just a little bit short of 90 minutes. I think it's less than 90 minutes, right? Yeah, but it goes by really quickly, and like it's a pretty entertaining film for the most part. It's funny because I think the fights are the only times where I feel the movie's length. That's the only time where I'm like, oh my god, this movie feels long during these moments because those fights,
but
they just will not end
in a good way for me. I'm so surprised when the fights just won't stop. I'm like, oh my god, they're still going. yeah. So that is a recommend for the most part for me. Zero, what are your thoughts? Yeah, exactly everything you said. I watched this first when we were looking for movies to cover for Jet Li month. I always knew he directed a film, so I sought it out because I really, really wanted to watch it. And after reviewing it, I said, okay, I think we should just save this one for the end because this is a pretty good one, and it's unique in that it's Jet Li's first and only film he directed. Such a shame he didn't go on to direct anything else because I think this shows he was very, very capable. So yes, I do recommend this one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it definitely better than Bodyguard from Beijing, right?
Oh God, yeah, much better than Bodyguard from Beijing. I'm not sure if it's better than Badges of Fury though, because I did watch Badges of Fury and that was horrendous, but I was laughing a lot more at that than I was at this movie. But this movie is not a comedy at all. So
no, not at all. Not even the slightest.
So yeah, do you want to hear us talk about Badges of Fury? Nag us, but it'll most likely be a short episode.
Do I want to hear about Badges of Fury?
I think you should watch it. I think you should watch Badges of Fury and then hate me for making you watch it.
I couldn't get past 5 minutes, man.
It's good. It's so bad.
I really couldn't.
But it's actually really bad.